Hi, Emmanuel here with T2S. T2S stands for Transform to Succeed. In this video, what I'm gonna do, we're gonna spend a few minutes, and I'll be talking about how you can deploy with Helm. You can deploy any application, and in this case, and specifically for this video, I'll be deploying Emmanuel Services app. It's gonna be a web app. So what we will be seeing in the end, after we complete our hands-on project, you're gonna see something like this. And here it's just a simple web application, a page about me, about Emmanuel. And you can configure this application to be about you too, right? But just changing the index HTML file and so on. And this is going to be our end result. What is Helm? Helm helps us package, configure, and deploy Kubernetes applications with reusable YAML files or YAML templates. So think of Helm as like a Docker Compose, Docker Compose, but for Kubernetes, if that makes sense. And you're gonna make more sense as we go along here. The question is, why Helm? The features and benefits. So the first feature is that it allows you to make your scripts reusable, meaning you define once your infrastructure and deploy it anywhere. Then secondly, you can version your application, your scripts, or your code. You can track and roll back releases. All right. The next thing is you can parameterize this. You configure different environments. That's the benefit of this. And finally, DevOps friendly. It is really DevOps friendly, meaning that you can, it's CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment to delivery, and GitOps ready. So this is one of the benefits, very important benefits here. And now the use cases of this of using this tool includes so many use cases, but 5 that I can share from the top of my head with you are microservice deployment, meaning that you can containerize your application using Docker and orchestrate and so on using Kubernetes. You can use it for GitOps and Argo CD, meaning that the changes that you make on your code will trigger a pipeline. All right. So you do that. Scalable app rollouts. Number 4, platform engineering. All right. Multi-environment CI/CD. So many things that you can do just using this very simple tool. So now I'm going to show you something here. This is going to allow you to kind of like begin visualizing. So you begin visualizing your kind of like the structure of, in terms of the files, the primary files that you need to make Helm work and operational and functional. You're gonna need a chart YAML file, values YAML file, deployment and service YAML files. The chart file will define kind of like the metadata that you need, or information you need about your application, like name, version, and stuff like that. The values will define the number of replicas that you want, what kind of image that you want to pull, and then build upon that image your application. It's gonna define also the service. Deployment and service files would be under the templates, which would define like the deployment YAML file will pull the values from the values file, and the service, which is it's an object that you use to expose your application. You can use node port or cluster IP, and you use a load balancer when you're doing this on a cloud computing platform. So now that we have talked about what you need to know about Helm in, I would say, probably 5 minutes. So what I want to do is to take you to where you can find all of these codes. Where you need to go is to my GitHub repo. Everything is there. So you're gonna find the code here, and then once you find the code, you just what you need to do is just to git you're gonna git clone. I'll show it to you in the command on the command line here. Just I think we should do it now. So here, what you see, you're gonna see all of these directories here. And what I don't want you to focus on the assets. You don't need to focus on, you're gonna need the static, and you're gonna need the Docker file, because to define, to define your application. You're gonna need the app, which is app.py, because we're using Flask to define our web application, and it's a web framework that you can use. Let's just go to the terminal here. So when you go to the terminal, I'm gonna do this, which is cd dot is to go a step up, right? Go a step up. So I'll just go here and then show you what you need to do. The first thing you're gonna need to do is to git clone. You need to git clone my repo. You can come here. If you go here on GitHub, in case you're not familiar with GitHub, you can just go here and just copy this. Or what you can do, you can download the zip files. It's gonna contain all of the codes for this scripts for this application. But I'll just copy that, and back to our terminal. I'll just do this. Then I'm gonna git clone this. And once you do that, after you do that, what you need to do is to move now into this directory. And you can just copy that, and then cd, meaning that you want to change directories, and I'll paste the names. The one thing that I always tell my mentees, companies that I work with, or students that I teach when it comes to cloud and DevOps is always avoid making manual errors or syntax errors. And to do that, just copy paste. It saves you time. cd, and now we are in here. So we are in this directory, and this is where we have all of our codes here. So if you the things that I want you to focus on would be the Docker file. So let's cat the Docker file. So the Docker file will say, remember we're using Flask here. So this is a web framework tool that we're using. It's gonna help us. It makes life easier. Instead of writing the codes from scratch to provision this application, we just use this. It comes with libraries and everything else that you need to help you build a web application like in minutes. All right, so we have done that, and we're gonna check also the Docker file. That's what we just did. And then remember, the Docker file will be building the image for our web application using Flask. All right, but it's gonna use content from here, the app here, and then the app will build the Flask will take information from this Python file to define our web application, and it's gonna use the index HTML. The index HTML file is the file that you need to build the content of your website. Okay, and then to style your content, the content of your website, you can use like CSS files and so on. You can make it as complex as you want, but in our case, we're gonna make it as simple as possible, right? But at least you get an idea of the architecture and how these things they work with each other. And if you look at the bottom here, the bottom here, I'm gonna do this so that you can see it, because my camera, my picture, it was hiding that. So if you see here, you're gonna, this defines where we want to run our application, and we're gonna just we're gonna run it from anywhere and on port 80. But we'll use it on our local. We're gonna use our local host. So we'll use our local host here. And let's clear the screen. Ls, we look at the different files here. We've looked at Docker file. We've looked at this application file, which will allow us to use Flask. And we're gonna need our index HTML, our index, HTML file is located here. Not there. It's located here under templates. So under templates. And by the way, the static, that's your static files, like images. This is like, this could be your logo or something like that. So you can put your logo in here. And under the templates, this is where you have your index HTML file, and you can add a CSS if you want to add more, features to your web application. It's up to you. Let's cat. We're gonna cat the file here. It's a long file, but you can find on the internet, you can find a lot of index templates, HTML templates that you can use, and then you adjust them to meet your needs. But in my case, it defines what I showed you at the beginning, because that's the list of the 3 primary services that I offer to companies, people like aspiring to become, DevOps cloud engineers or pastors and Christian leaders. So I do that, and you can change some of these. You just go line by line. It's not a very long file here, but you can read it and then change this. You see, so for the image, or the source, you're gonna have to specify the path here and make sure that the naming convention is consistent, throughout your project here. So you're gonna do that, and you can change, like here you have the services, the list of services here. I have a drop down, and you can also define your services here, meaning that you can change this here. So you change the values here, and if you change the values, then you should be okay. Change the picture, you're gonna have something similar to what you would see in the end, but it's gonna be yours, right? And take this project, push it to your GitHub account, show it to your friends, to the recruiter, and to say that, hey, I know how to use Helm. I'm gonna clear my screen. All right, so let's look at this directory here. So that's directory. If you just do 3, the command 3, and then the name, this is where we have the templates. You remember what I showed you in the beginning? You're gonna need these files to provision your web application. So let's begin with the chart, the first one. So we're gonna do chart here. You see, this is like the, as I told you, it's more like the metadata. It contains the metadata, like the versions 2, that's version 2, or you can say v1 or v3 or whatever. And then this is the name that we want to use, and this is a description, and we define this here version 0.1. You can put whatever you want to do there. Let's do the same for the values. So we do for the values, and as I said, the values YAML file will contain like the replica count. We're gonna just use 1. The image, this is gonna be the repository. We're gonna tag it that way. Pool policy, if not present. and then the type of service, it's gonna be node port and port number 80. Ingress, we're gonna just say false for now. I'll clear my screen and we'll recall that command again. And now what we want to do, we're gonna go to the template, and in the template, we have the deployment file as well as the service file. So this will define the deployment. Recall that service, command, and let's use the service. You remember the service file or YAML file will define how we want to expose our application to the rest of the world. Clear my screen, and now what we're gonna have to do is just you have to make sure that, let's go to this command here. So this is what you're gonna need to define, you see. So you're gonna need to define the metadata. You define the name of your application, you see. You can call it whatever you want to call it, and this is the containers information here. So you define this, redefine, configure this file here. You also do the same with the service to match, the desired, the requirements or the requirements that you may have. Now that we are done with that, the next thing that we are going to do is now to provision our application. And provisioning of our application, we're gonna first have to we'll create our image. And then when you create the image, you're just gonna make sure, so we're gonna call it Emmanuel Web App, then we'll say 1.0 and define where you wanna put this image. In our case, we'll just say, we're just gonna say dot, meaning we're gonna build the image in this present directory. And the other steps that you, first of all, before you do anything else, you're gonna have to make sure that Docker is started. Like in my case here, I'm gonna share my screen here. Like in my case here, you see we're gonna have to, I'm using Docker desktop, and because I'm using it, so I'm gonna have to start it. And once you start it, then you can go back and run this command. So it's building my image in this current directory. And if you have a different one, you need to specify the path to that specific location. And usually it doesn't really take much time, and it's done here. Clear your screen. You can also you can tag if you want to, and then push this image to the desired remote repository where you want to store your image, like Docker Hub. You can use ECR, Elastic Container Repository. In the case of AWS, you can use Microsoft Azure, Google, whatever you need to use. But now we will not be doing this for now. But what I want us to do is to run this command. We're gonna lint. And this is kind of like just checking our code here. So we wanna make sure that our code is what we want it to be, right? So we want a clean code. This is one of the best practices you need to do. So we're gonna do that, and then check. We're gonna say it's been linted, no chart failed. Okay, so we do that, and you can also check the template by using this command here. So we're gonna check the template. So we're gonna say Emmanuel template. We're gonna say Emmanuel here, Emmanuel Web. Let's say that work. So that should work, and we can see the templates that we have here. You just go through this, and if they look, the templates look okay for you, like the deployment and service files, then go ahead. You're gonna have to go ahead, and now we want to deploy our application. This is where the fun begins. So we're gonna install this application, call it Emmanuel Web, You can call it Emmanuel Web or Emmanuel Services, whatever you want here. But it's gonna pull everything from this chart, okay? The Helm chart. So let's run this. Okay, let me rephrase this. I'm gonna say Emmanuel Services here. Emmanuel Services. Okay, I see. So something that you have to do in the beginning, because remember, Helm, it's a package manager tool or managing tool that you use on Kubernetes. So you're gonna have to make sure that something that I forgot to mention it at the beginning of this video. I'm sorry about that. So you're gonna have to make sure that your cluster is up and running. Okay. So we're gonna, in my case, I'm using Minikube on my local machine here. A Minikube, it's just one controller node and one worker node. If you want to use more than one worker node, then you can install the traditional Kubernetes on your keyboard or on your local machine, or you can take advantage of the cloud native Kubernetes tools like EKS, AKS, GKE for Google, AKS for Azure, EKS for AWS. So I have a Minikube version here. It's installed, and what I'm gonna need to do, and of course you're gonna need to prior to doing whatever we've done so far, you're gonna have to install Helm. You're gonna have to install Docker. You see, in my case, it's already installed, and Minikube, Helm, Docker should be installed. Okay. So it's installed, and now I need to start my Minikube, meaning my cluster. So I'm gonna start my cluster, and this will take just a few moments, and then it's gonna be done. And once it's done, then we should be able to play any of these two commands here. See, we tried this one, didn't work, but if we try it, it should work now that the cluster is up and running. But before you do that, you can, like kubectl, get pods, for instance. You don't see anything here because we don't have any pods built. So let's try nodes. We want to see only the control plane, which is the controller node. It's the only thing that we have. Okay, so let's recall now this command here. We'll just say Emmanuel Services. We'll go ahead and do that. And now it's created. So now we have, let's try this. If now you do this, you get something here. You have a pod running on a node, our local machine here, that's our node. And it's running, so it looks good. And after you do that, what you're gonna need to do next is to now look at get the URL so that we can access. You see, our service, we called it Emmanuel Services, right? Then dash URL to get the URL. It's gonna give us our URL. If you go to the browser, you see we only have GitHub here. We don't have a second window. Once I click on this one here, or you can just copy. So copy that, go to your browser, open a new browser, paste it there. Make sure that you don't have an S here. Okay, so just keep it the HTTP. And here is our web site. So we have our website and everything is here. If you click here on the service, you should be able to, I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller so that you can see what happens here. So I have my services here. Let's talk about your goals: IT consulting and contracting for businesses, technology and ministry mentorship for pastors and leaders. So that's pretty much what that's how you do it. All right, that's how you do it. And now what we can do, you can upgrade your URL. Like, you can go here. Let's go back here. I'm gonna open a new terminal, and I need to go to here. That's where we were. And what I need to do is to change. I'm gonna change something here. I'm gonna change it on templates. Let's say deployment. No, we cannot change that. Let's go to the values. So we're gonna have to change the values here. So we're gonna go back to the chart, find the values, and here we wanna change to 2. We can change it to 2. Control X, and then save. So that's save. And the next thing we need to do is to upgrade. So you're gonna have to upgrade the services, and then that's the name of the service, and this is the chart. Always use the values from the chart to apply those values to your service. And I'm gonna press enter. We have updated this, and now you see we have revision. And now if you do kubectl get pods, you're gonna see 2 pods now running. So meaning that if one fails, the other one will be still running, and your clients will always have access to your web application. So no downtime. Your web application is gonna be highly available. The other thing that you can do is you can, and this is optional, you can add. Actually, you can add. Let me take you there. You can add. You can add. Let me see here. Let me go back to mine here and see if we can. I think that would be now. That'll be 7 here. So you can add. This is optional. You can add an ingress controller, meaning you decide on what type of traffic should come into your application. And then when you do that, you want to have to create a YAML file. You call it Ingress, and then you put it in your Emmanuel or your chart, okay, just as it says here. And then once you do that, you should be able to upgrade, and you should see the result. So this is pretty much the end of our session, of our video. But before we go, let's do some cleanup here. How do we clean? To clean, we're gonna begin first by using this command here. We're gonna install Emmanuel services. So we're gonna install that. And the next thing we're gonna have to stop. We're gonna have to stop our cluster by using Minikube stop in our case. And we wait for that to complete. And so as I said, you can use this as you use it for CI/CD and for more in DevOps. But this is pretty much the end of our project that I wanted to show you all, and I wanted to share with you. So in this video, what we did, we covered what Helm is, why it's powerful for DevOps, how to deploy a real Flask app using Helm, and I also shared a little bit of tips like scaling and Ingress, meaning that this is the end. I hope this video was helpful for you, and just share it with a friend, family member. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so and like this video, and you can also share it as I just said. Thank you. God bless. I hope to see you in the next video.